welcome back to the channel. It's Lauren. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're doing well. Today, I'm so excited. I'm going to be doing a look and giving you my first impressions on the newest Roen Quad. This is the Eyes on Me Quad. Very copper rose looking, very trendy. I know, I was excited. I talked about how I bought this and a couple other palettes in my most recent new beauty launches. So definitely use timestamps down below to get around to what you want, because I am going to be doing my first impressions and a look. I'm doing my full face, my full Roen face, like what I would do for this look. So it's a full-on kind of get ready with me tutorial type thing. But more than anything, I wanted to give swatches because this thing is so pretty, but really, how does it differ? So I have every single quad except the like 75 Cool palette. So I picked up the second newest palette, Gold Lust. I picked up the 75 Warm, which is one of the two original palettes that launched. I didn't have this one in my collection. So I bought all three of these recently, like with the Eyes on Me quad. And then the quads that I already had in my collection that I really enjoyed, this is the Mood Forever, which I really quite like. And I also have the 1111. So I have tons here. And as you can tell, some of these, you know, they seem like, how different are they? That's what I really wanted to get into here. So we're definitely going to do some full on swatches. I'm going to show each quad and their swatches, and then I'm going to show them together, kind of tell you the differences that I see. So hopefully it can help you, because if you go looking on their website or even on their Instagram, it is tough to know what the hell the differences are between them. So hopefully that will help you guys. So yeah, let's just get into swatches and then we'll get into the look. I'm going to go in order in how they came out. So I'm going to start with the oldest palette. This is the 75 Warm palette. In full disclosure, I have not used this palette yet, so keep that in mind. The first shade here is a light gold, and it is very chunky, very glittery. Definitely that kind of original fun formula. I think it's really beautiful. I'm excited to get that on my eyes. The next shadow here is a bronze with a golden sparkle to it. This one has like a base pigment with the golden kind of flecks on top. The next shadow on the quad looks quite similar, but this one has a little bit more almost green to it, and it's also a bit deeper. Again, lots of sparkle in this one. And then the last one is a more red toned brown. This one isn't nearly as shimmery or textured as the others, but it does have a sparkle to it still. It's just not textured. So that is the 75 Warm quad. The next quad that I have that came out is the 1111. This one was more of those mauve tones, and all of these are that really textured, like shimmery formula. So the first one in here is a baby kind of mauve pink. It is so beautiful. This is one of my favorite quads, maybe my favorite. I love it, and I feel like it also has maybe the biggest difference between the shadows in the quad. Anyway, next there's this really beautiful cool toned gray. This has some really pretty multi-dimensional colored shimmer to it as well. I love that shadow for like a more smoky eye. Then we have a cranberry color. This one has a warmth to it, even though it looks kind of cool. And then last, this is a more peachy, warm shade. It has like a golden shimmer to it. I just think this quad has, again, the most difference. I love that they're all those creams and have so much beautiful texture and sparkle to them. Next is the Mood Forever quad. This one had, the first time I really dealt with any of these kind of metallic type shades. So the first one in here, I don't really love this shadow, but this is a like light champagne-y gold. I find it just looks like weird on the eyes. It's one of the only shades I've used that I don't really like. Then next is another one of those like peachy type shades. It has like a copper look to it, a pink gold kind of orange thing going on. Then one of my favorite colors of shadows, like this might be my favorite shadow from Roen, but maybe not my full quad favorite, if that makes sense. This is a stunning like taupey shade. It has almost like a blue shimmer to it. It is stunning and so beautiful. Oh, I love this. It has a beautiful like brown base, but again kind of leans cool with those slightly blue reflects that keep it neutral but interesting. And then last in here there is a bronzy brown with a golden shimmer. It's almost like a berry bronze with a gold orange kind of shimmer. Next we have the Gold Lust quad. Now this one has more of those metallics, and I haven't used this one yet either because I just got it, but these seem a lot more promising. This first shade is a beautiful peachy gold is what I'd call it. There's something about it that leans a little bit more peach than like yellow. Next is a bronze type shade. Again, nothing too yellow golden in here at all. Then we have a coppery bronze. This one does have more of that warmth to it. There's something like an orange copper coming from this, and all of these are shiny but they don't have any texture to them. The last shade in here This is actually a powder. It's stunning. It's a stunning powdered shadow, and I think it's gonna look great over all of those creams. I don't know why they decided to change it, but this is a beautiful, beautiful quad. And last, the one that I'm featuring today, this is the Eyes on Me quad, and it's the newest quad. Again, we have those metallic shades. So the first one is a beautiful mauvey pink, and I love this. It's warm, something kind of rosy to it. Beautiful. Then the next shade is like a copper rose. So it's definitely quite warm and like red copper toned. Then we have a matte powder shadow. This is one of those kind of like warm terracottas that again has that red to it. And last, this is another powder shadow. This one's even more textured and kind of, I guess, sheer than the one in the Gold Lust, but it is beautiful. It has a bit of a duochrome going on, so almost like a rosy champagne and gold kind of flip to it. Really beautiful and reminds me of the Patrick Ta shades. All right, guys, so hopefully the audio isn't too different, but I wanted to show you the quads laid out next to each other so you could really see the differences between them. So in order, this is the 75 Warm palette. This is the 1111 quad. This is the Mood Forever. This is Gold Lust, and this is Eyes on Me. So there they all are, and now let's get into the comparison swatches so you can see them swatched out next to each other. All right, it was so tough to get these all on my arm, so hopefully you can see everything here. It's always difficult to get these all focused, but this is the 75 Warm palette, the quad. This is 1111. This one is Mood Forever, Gold Lust, and then that's the new Eyes on Me. I would say for the quads that are the most similar, which would be 1111, Mood Forever, and Eyes on Me, and then maybe I guess you could say the Warm and the Gold Lust. The difference is definitely going to be in texture. So I find the older quads, basically these two and some of this one, Mood Forever, tend to be more sparkly with the creams, and the two new ones have creams that aren't as textured and then do powdered textured shadows. I think my two favorites are still 1111 and Mood Forever. I think they just are really great. I like the textured cream, but I'm excited for the new also. I mean, I think this might be a little bit more modern. So yeah, I hope that was helpful and the comparison swatches were helpful so you could see the slight differences between the tones. All right, so I thought I would actually take you along with how I'm gonna do my makeup entirely, so my full face. I'll leave a timestamp down below if you just want to get to the Roen eye quad, but I do feel like when I use the Roen quads, I kind of have a whole look I'm going for, so I thought I would share that with you too. Anyway, I'm going to be using a primer. This is the Hello Fab one from First Aid Beauty. I love it. This just really gives me a nice moisturized base. It does have a little bit of a glow, but not too much. I am going for glow today, something pretty natural, so I'm going to be using my Charlotte Tilbury. You can't tell what it is because it's all rubbed off almost, but the Flawless Filter. This is the shade 1. I just apply this almost as like a glowy a primer, a second primer. I love the way this looks with my foundation, and I just rub it in with my fingers. Next, I'm going in with foundation. I'm using my Yensa, just like a tried and true, and I just use one pump of that, and I just use a sponge to blend that in. I like the look. This is like my favorite way to get a good look with this. I find it always blends in really nice and natural and doesn't pick up on any dry patches. And I'm not going for a super like made up look in terms of like my foundation. I want my skin to look like skin. And if I do it right, one pump tends to be enough for my whole face, even with the sponge. All right, so that's my skin. It's pretty glowy still from the Charlotte Tilbury primer coming through. And now I'm gonna conceal a little anywhere I need to. So under my eyes, and I just use this corrector from Sigma, and I tap this where I need it. And wherever else I need to cover, I just tap that on. We're using a lot of creams today. I feel like, you know, I don't know, my idea of the cream shadows goes with like a whole cream look. So I'm using my Persona bronzer the tiniest bit because I really, you know, usually I'll actually add this on before my concealer. I'm not doing that today. So just a tiny bit. And then that I actually blend out with a brush. I find it's fastest, and usually I'm trying to go fast. Don't mind my nose, it's being just fussy, I feel like, today. And when it does that, I always find tapping whatever concealer I have or whatever coverage I want on it, tapping it in as opposed to using a brush really helps bring it back to life and let it not look so dry, because that's my issue with my nose. It always tries to be cakey and dry. Okay, let's do blush. I love the way the bronzer's looking. Just that tiny bit. I really have to keep it under control, but with that tiny bit, it just adds enough life. For blush, I'm using this Wander Beauty one. I've been trying this one out, so I've used it a couple times, and I do really quite like it, so I'm just gonna tap in there. And I always do like a blush drape type look, so I kind of come out diagonally from my eye, and then I just tap in with the brush. You could use your sponge as well, but sometimes a brush is just easy, especially if I just go with stippling instead of like swirling. So beautiful. I love it. It looks just so fresh. Okay, I love that. Then I'm gonna go in with this. I've been using this a lot lately, ColourPop's Seismic. This is pretty glittery for me, but it looks so good. Nice and wet looking from far away. And even up close, I mean, it does look shimmery, don't get me wrong, or like sparkly. I still kind of like it. So I like to go out from my eye again with that highlighter. I think that just looks so pretty in that kind of what I've called a trough before. The eye trough looks great. I love that. And I just use my fingers. I find with cream highlighters, sometimes that's the best way to go to get something really nice and natural looking. It just blends out really nice. It's what seems to work for me. And I'm mostly gonna keep that to my cheeks. I might put a little on my nose, but I don't put this highlighter everywhere like I do a powder. All right, let me zoom in so you can see what everything kind of looks like right now. I'm very glowy, more natural looking. I really love this kind of look. And I want to get my eyebrows done so we can get into the actual quad. Let's actually do that. I'm just going to use the CoverGirl Brow Gel, the Easy Breezy Brow in Light. And I'm going to run that through my brows first. I've been trying to find the fastest, easiest brow I can do lately. I haven't settled on the products yet, but I think going and running a brow gel or equivalent, I've been trying to find the right tinted brow soap for me, but doing that first and then filling in with my brow pencil has actually been really great and kind of what I've been doing, so. So once I do that, I go in with my Roen brow pencil. This is like one of the other Roen products I really love. And I'm just gonna fill in mostly the tail, like to sharpen it a bit, as in just kind of extend it where it needs to and fill in if it needs any. This brow's pretty good. This brow always needs a little bit more work. All right, hopefully that looks good actually on camera too and in real life. I feel like it looks okay where I am, but hopefully it looks good on the camera. They're not always the same thing. We're on to the eyes. I'm first going to prime my lids. I'm just using a clear primer. Usually I use a cream, but I want to see how this does with the cream shadows that we're going to use from Roen instead of like layering tons and tons of creams. Blending that out, it's the Urban Decay Primer Potion. And I'm going to let that dry all the way down. All right, so here's the Eyes on Me quad. What's so interesting and different about this quad compared to other Roen shadows is that these two are powders, which usually they do only creams. So I'm going to use the cream bases first. I'm going in with the lighter one first. And that's going to kind of be the base of the whole look. So I'm going to put this down. I think this shadow would also just be beautiful on its own. But I am going to try to use quite a few of the shadows for this look. I know that these shimmery, more metallic and not so textured creams aren't like the past Roen shadows, but I actually quite like them. I think they can be really sexy and beautiful on their own. So there's just the one shadow on the eyes. I think it's beautiful. I really like it. I do wish that these would lock down a bit, but I do feel like sometimes with cream shadows, when they lock down, they cannot look as good though. So I don't know. I like the Roen formula, but it's like the exception to me of shadows that I like that still crease. So just want to warn you about that. I'm now going to take the darker shade and I'm just tapping this very lightly on the outer corner. You could of course use a brush. I just prefer using my fingers. Don't mind my little pimple, but otherwise I think that looks really good too as a look. But we're gonna use the whole quad. We're gonna use the whole quad for today. I think I wanna tap on the shimmery sparkly shade. Now, I initially thought this was a cream and then realized, oh shit, that's actually a powder, which I think is interesting. It kind of reminds me of some of the stuff from Patrick Ta, like those shimmery flaky shades. So I'm just tapping that in the front part of my eye. I mean, I'm kind of taking it back as well. And essentially those cream shadows are acting as a base for this. Really beautiful. I wonder why they didn't make this a cream shadow formula, because they've done textured creams in the past. Sometimes those can be difficult to work with and like blend out. So I don't know if that's why or what. I do think this might be easier for people to use. It's beautiful, a really beautiful sparkle. I got a little bit under my eye. I'm just tapping whatever's left over into the outer corner. For the outer corner, I'm gonna take the matte shade and I'm just tapping that in the outer corner for a little more depth, but not really blending too much. I think that looks really beautiful. I am going to take my Natasha Denona highlighter for the inner corner and the brow bone. I did get, like I said, a little bit of shadow here from just my finger. So that kind of sucks, but I think the look is beautiful. I'm gonna add a little bit of liner on my lower lash line, maybe a little tight lining with it. I think the last thing I want to do is just add some mascara. All right, so here is the finished eye look. I think it's beautiful. It's like what I expect from Roen shadows, you know, like the sparkles there, it's neutral, it's sultry, I feel expensive and pretty, and you know, I just feel like it delivers on what I want to happen every time I use them. So I do feel like it was successful in that way. And I do love those colors right now, these kind of like rosy, coppery tones. I want to finish out the look though and add some lips. Naturally, I'm going to use the Charlie lip gloss or the liquid lip balm. It's like my favorite, again, from Roen. I love it. I think, okay, Boxycharm is doing their mega drop. I don't think they have Charlie. I think they have Remy, but that is available for $5 on the Boxycharm site. And I got an email today saying you don't have to be a part of Boxy to shop this sale. So if it's a special link, I'll just have that link down below. Like, I'm just letting you guys know in case, you know. They also have the 1111 quad on there for like $16 or $18 instead of like the 40 something. So just a little bit of liner and then the balm. This thing is literally amazing. All right, so there is the look, you guys. Let me zoom out even a little bit more. I'm pretty shiny, but that's kind of the look I'm going for, so I hope you don't mind for the video or anything. All right, now that the look is done and you guys have seen it, I thought I would give you some thoughts on the Eyes on Me quad. So this retails for $46. It is expensive. This is a luxury price point. I feel like everything with Roen feels luxurious to me. The packaging is a little lightweight, but overall, like, it's luxury. So for me to sit here and say like, but it's worth the money, it's hard because I love it and I'm definitely, I feel like partial, like it's just a brand I really enjoy. I do feel like every time I use them, I get the look I want. Look, like this look looks amazing, right? But if your main goal is to like find a way to dupe this, I think it's possible to find comparable products, and especially comparable when we're talking about maybe the difference in price. I really love this eye look though. I'm happy with my purchase. So I think you just have to be okay with like buying something that's expensive and luxury and at that price point just because it is. So I think that's like the first thing I want to say. Going from that, I really enjoyed the look that I got today. Like I said, I think it is beautiful and stunning. I feel like gorgeous in it, which is always nice. That is something I really enjoy about the Roen Quad. The sparkles that are in them and the tones and everything always are things that make me feel really beautiful. This quad is especially different because of the fact that there's two powder shadows in here, and part of me loves it. Like part of me is excited for that. It's something different from the brand, and I do feel like especially this matte brown, although it's like, you know, it's a matte brown, like how many of those do we have in our collections maybe, but I do think it's very useful when it comes to like deepening up a little bit in the outer corner or wanting to add, I don't know, something grounding to a look, you know? Same with this other shimmery powder. This reminds me kind of like the Patrick Ta in terms of flakiness and texture. And even this whole quad is similar to the Rose palette. Actually, let me show you it. This is the new Patrick Ta palette and this is the Roen. So definitely similar color stories. I don't know if they're like is exact dupes or something, but you know, similar color stories for sure. And really, I'm just saying that this is similar in texture, I guess, to those more flaky, shimmery shadows in the Patrick Ta palette, which I enjoy. Now, I think it's interesting because one of the things I really like from Roen are the textured shadows, specifically like in the 1111 quad. All of these have some type of texture going on to them, and I love that about them. But I will say sometimes, you know, I get a little clumpiness or I really got to blend out so I don't get something kind of chunky looking with these. And I do think in the powder formula, it's just a little bit easier to work with for the everyday. So I think there's some positives there. I also think that having like the two cream bases and then you can put that powder on top, like that makes sense, right? Like it kind of catches all those flaky shimmers, and I had a really easy time applying it today. So I really actually like the way that is. So I have some definite positives, but you know, one of the things I love about the Roen quads is that they were all cream and this one isn't. So there's that we don't get any textured cream shadows in here. The other two creams are that metallic and non-textured cream, which is beautiful. I think those are actually really pretty on the eyes, but those aren't as different. Like I feel like you could probably find that in other formulas and other brands. And so there's that. Anyway, I feel like I can get a lot of great looks out of this. Very obviously similar in tone. It's very monochromatic, but this cream I think is going to be one of my most used shadows in the quad just because I could wear it alone and then basically for the base of any look I want to do. So this alone I think would be great. I also can imagine me using this and then just topping over with the textured shadow. That sounds amazing. Just having the outer corner color, doing like another one of these looks. I think my least used shade will probably be this one just because it's a little bit darker and the cream, but I think I can still make something work. It's just not the one I naturally want to go to, I guess. Whereas if this was like a textured shadow and maybe a slightly different color, maybe I would, you know what I mean? So overall, I'm really excited for it. Like, I can see this traveling with me. I'm excited, and I'll definitely keep you guys posted if I like it being half powder, half cream. I'll have to keep you updated on that because it's very different, and part of me is excited. We'll see if I miss the creams. I also want to just like reiterate that the creams in here do not stay put, as in they do not lock down. So that is something you have to decide if you like that or if you don't. I normally don't, but for some reason with Roen, I let it slide. I'm okay with it. It works, and I still love them just as much. So that's just me. I just tap out, but you'll have to decide if that's something that you're okay with. And also, if you found a way to make these not crease, let us know. Like, are you using a primer? Like, what are you doing? Because that would obviously be great, and I'd love to know your magic secrets. Okay. But anyway, I'll have to keep you updated on this because it's my first impressions using it today. I think the biggest thing though is the color story in general. I think those like coppery, warm, rosy shades are kind of taking over in the last couple releases. 1111 started it, then we had Mood Forever. The Gold Lust didn't, but then we got this one, and I just feel like although these are different technically, they come, like, they're very similar, you know? They kind of run into each other, and I think it would be really awesome to have a little bit more distinction between the quads. I don't know, I think I would like that, but I do love the neutral, so it's tough, you know? I think for neutral lovers, maybe the slight differences are enough for you. You just have to make that decision as well. And I hope my swatches helped, because that was one of the things that was really tough online. Trying to decide what the difference between all of them are is so difficult. Even from the Gold Lust, like online, the swatches of the Gold Lust palette and the Eyes on Me palette, even these looked kind of similar, and I'm like, what the heck? So I knew since I was interested, there's probably someone else out there who's thinking the same thing as me, so I hope the swatches and kind of my thoughts on that helped you if you just want to pick up one or two and you don't want too many repeats, or you want to know how similar things actually are. So I'll keep you guys updated. I haven't even used the Gold Lust quad yet, but I wanted to get this up and kind of show you my whole Roen kind of look, like what I go for when I use my Roen quads usually. Sometimes I'll go a little bit more glam and, you know, a little darker, but this is kind of what it is, and I really love this. I look like I'm so excited. It is a brand that I really do enjoy. Like, I don't think I've disliked anything. Oh, one single shadow. I don't know why that single shadow was such a bust, but otherwise, everything else I've tried I've really enjoyed. So, but yeah, I'm gonna end it here. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.